Okay, prepare for beginification.
Sorry, go ahead. That sounds like JN Track's foreplay.
All right. So this is January 28th, 2021. I'm Commander JN Trax, and this is the Loose Screws podcast. Back in the saddle. I'm going to say that every time until it's true.
Yeehaw.
Tonight, so that you can recognize everyone's voice, because you guys know, right? This is why we do this at the beginning, so that everybody knows what your voice sounds like. We have Commander Chig. Hello.
How are you today?
Oh, great. I knew I shouldn't have said that.
Good evening. I'm ready to go.
Here. Oh, okay. Diva Looter is here.
This is the sound of my voice.
Commander
Hello.
Dubs.
Hello.
Commander Lieutenant Commander Data.
Hello, everybody.
And Commander Nurgle.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Nurgle MP. I've never addressed that. What is the MP for?
Multi-purpose.
First name, last name.
Oh, military police.
Micro penis.
I was going to say that. That was on the
He
tip
went
of my
there.
Did you just say you had a micro penis on the tip of your tongue, Data?
I believe
Somebody-
that was said.
Somebody
A little
already
farther into
had
to make
just plain Nurgle, so
I think that's
All
a
right.
record for shortest amount of time before a dick joke on this show.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Guess what just happened, everybody? Oh, wait.
oh, it was a drive-by.
It was a drive-by. Okay, never mind.
Come back.
Nobody talk about it. Oh, wait. It's back. Oh, gosh. Now I don't know what to do if I spook it, if I talk again.
There's a bird flying around the studio, is what we're all looking at.
Multiple dick jokes attracts this kind of crowd.
Well, yeah, it's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times. Maybe that's what summons him.
You
Is
gotta
that
say
Ty
something,
Worsham?
Yeah, how's it going, y'all?
dude. Good evening.
All right.
Had some initial headset issues there, so
I was beginning to think
All
you were
right.
just fucking with us. Just log on, log off. Log on, log off.
well, anyway. I turned it on, the headset wasn't working, and then I turned it back off, and I turned it back on, and then the Oculus headset decided to work. Which, sidebar here, hasn't done that for like fucking 6 months, but whatever.
Well, welcome. Hey, look what's happened.
I am not real sure what you guys are talking about, but I've been thinking about this all day long, and I only got about 10-15 minutes here. So I'm going to butt in here, and I'm going to make a diatribe statement here.
Fire away.
Okay.
So
They didn't give away free tritium again, did they? Just making sure. Okay, the floor is yours.
okay, so all right, so I believe it was last week, or maybe it was the week before. Frontier said, "Hey, we're going to have to hold off on the release of the console version of Odyssey." And I read that, and I'm like, "All right, they're going to change that because it doesn't make sense for them not to release it at the same time." Because all I could think of is that they're on the path to merging all of these universes into one. And then you got the problem of how's that going to work when explorers are out there walking around on a planet and they get the first stepped on achievement or attack or whatever. And then the console players are sitting there and they can't get the same thing. They don't have the same opportunity. And it just kind of stuck in my craw, and I sat on it. I thought, I'll leave it alone. And I know you guys talked about it last week. And I'm like, I'll leave it alone. I'm just going to let it be. But it really stuck in my craw today. And I've been thinking about it, and then it struck a chord where I have to say something about it. It's total fucking bullshit. It is a cop-out of epic proportions. They have a history of doing this with other things. They have a history of doing releases to the consoles a little late. And I'm not a console player. I am a very much PC gamer, or very much PC gamer. I don't really even like playing on consoles anymore, except for the Nintendo ones. But they are really shitting on a large portion of their fan base. And I don't know what the number is. I don't know if it affects 1 million players or 10 million players. I don't know what the number is, but they certainly know what the number is. They know the number of players that they're hurting. And they have an opportunity right now to be in front of their only competitor, Star Citizen, by a mile. And for them to leave their console players behind the way they are is a great big just middle finger F you. And I know the whole, I hate the whole thing because I've read on forums today where people are saying, oh, well, it's hard to do this, or they're taking their extra time to do that, or it takes more time to do this and get this run through that. Who cares? Every single day or every single week, there are video games that come out on all 3 platforms. True, none of the same scale. I get that. But it's a cop-out. You're a multi-million-dollar company. You're the largest producer, your largest developer of video games in England.
In UK.
In the UK, thank you. You're making an excuse. I don't like excuses.
I
cop-out excuse. Do what?
I fully agree with you. I'm not. I think the whole thing's just god awful, especially considering that we all already share the same universe. We just can't see each other. The whole galaxy is affected by all 3 platforms already. So yeah, no, I'm with you. So preach it.
And have they said anything at all as to regards to what they're going to do for the people who are they going to separate the universe and say, okay, well, it's already kind of separated anyway. But they're going to make it
they've said they're going to look into it. I'll let you know when we know.
About delaying first football counting.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with Ty on this one. I think that PC should be pushed back to November.
Whoa. Come on. That's just crazy talk.
You can reach Devoluter at the Discord.
Everyone should suffer like I suffer.
I agree, though. If they can't put it out on all 3 platforms, I know you were kidding, but if they needed to delay the game, they should delay the game.
I'm willing to bet that the reason why they did break it into chunks like that is because they had already pushed it back enough, and they figured, well, this at least they can salvage some of the people and just anger the rest. I'm not sticking up for them. I don't care one way or the other. I got no dog in this fight.
They have a history of doing this. It came out on PC, I believe, first, and then it came out, I want to say it was Xbox, and then Apple.
It was Xbox.
And
PlayStation was last.
Yeah, I think PlayStation was last.
By several years.
Yeah. And I also want to say that Horizon was delayed, I want to say by 60 days on the PlayStation, but I can't remember for sure. But I'm going to tell you what this smells of. This smells of some sort of exclusivity deal they're working out with one of the console developers is what this smells of. And I don't know that for a fact. Now, I feel like that would be a huge misstep on their part. But this
I don't think they could do that.
Yeah, I don't get that vibe.
Because so what you would be saying is they would go to just one console then and not the other?
Not necessarily. Okay, so kind of
timed exclusive?
Yeah, timed exclusive. Kind of what I was thinking of was what if they did a timed exclusive on whatever the hell the new Xbox is called, the Xbox Series X or whatever hell. I don't know why they can't just call it the Xbox 5. But Microsoft can't count anyway. But anyway,
yeah.
Well, they needed more X's and series in their name. So
I don't know. I feel like that. I mean, we don't really have a idea if they're going to do a launch for that or they're going to do like a different version. We know it's going to be available on that, but it's going to run in like whatever the hell mode, for the PS4 and the Xbox, the old Xbox.
Yeah, they're not
backward
compatible games.
Right.
They'll be last-gen games. Yeah.
It'll be a backwards compatibility. Yeah.
Right. So we already know they're doing that. And we don't have heard anything as far as like a more up-to-date launch or like a 4K launch or anything. But it's a cop-out excuse. I feel like there's more to it than what they're saying. And yeah, I'm of the mindset that if you can't release it for everybody at the same time and give everybody the equal fair chance, I don't want to beta test your game for 6 months. Beta test it yourself.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
That's not what I got out of that at all. And I think, to me, I want to give them the credit that they're due for the difficulties of trying to develop on lockdown and everything else. And I think, having already pushed this back once, they set themselves on what we'll call a wildly optimistic development schedule. And when it became obvious that they were not going to be able to launch in first quarter, they made the decision to sacrifice console development to make sure the PC got launched.
And I still am of the opinion that they knew they were going to delay when they did pre-sales. And
I'm with you on that. I think they knew at that
still
point.
Bothers me.
There was no way that they didn't know that they were going to delay when they did pre-sales. There's no possible way. You have to do pre-sales. What is it, a minimum of 3 months?
I don't know the official rules. I've thought about looking it up, but
there's a whole thing around that they want to be able to take that money and invest it so they get a bigger return on it, and not necessarily use it for development costs.
Right.
And like every game developer does this. This is why pre-sales are such a big deal. Which, by the way, I'm also a proponent of don't buy pre-sales. Just buy the game.
This is the first one I've ever done, and I'm pissed. I feel like they tricked me.
I did it too. I'm in the same boat. I did it when they released that
at the Video Game Awards.
Yep. That's when I did it too. And I'm like, well, you got me. I'm in. Yep. And now I kind of feel like shit. I kind of feel like I shit all over the console jockeys because I kind of feel like it gave them enough excuse for them to say, yeah, we can do this. We'll push it back.
Oh, interesting. So you're thinking that the success of the pre-sale made them think it was okay to then turn around and make the delay worse on console.
Well, and I'm strictly speculating here. It goes back to at some point someone in some accounting firm or in Frontier headquarters has a book that says we need to make this much money, and I've said this for months now. We need to make this much money. We need to make it, and here's the dates we need to make it by. Otherwise, it's not a success.
And I think it's even different than that. I think that they waited to announce the delay until after pre-sales because it would have affected pre-sales.
Oh,
I would not have pre-purchased.
No doubt.
Yeah, and you can't really fault them for that because, I mean, that's a business decision. I would have made the same decision. It's a little underhanded, but So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I just had to throw in my 2 cents quarter's worth of opinion about it. I think it's real shitty. I think what they're doing is a little underhanded, and that's about it.
All right. I am. Well, I'm not going to repeat everything I said already because other people that weren't here last week need to talk. I would say, listening to what you were saying, one thing that would kind of change the way I was feeling about it a bit would be if delaying the consoles further. Let's see, how do I phrase this? So if leaving them synced in time, if leaving the release not staggered would have meant a longer delay for PC but a shorter delay for console, like if we could have met in the middle somewhere, then I would think that was favorable, but that really doesn't have anything to do with your guys' points about what they knew when and how kind of dishonest it is. So
do we think
it is what it is?
Do we think with the trouble with CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk had on their old consoles, and because so Cyberpunk runs great on PC, it runs really good on PlayStation 5 and on the Xbox Series X, it runs like dog shit. Now I know they've patched it and they've made it better. I'm talking about when it on release day and including the huge 30 some odd gig patch on release day. It ran like dog shit on day one. On the Xbox, on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox X1, 1X, what the hell it's called. Jesus, Xbox, get it right. I'm kind of wondering if they looked at that and said, we might want to go ahead and say we need more time to get this right, because we can't just push it out there and then patch it and then everybody be okay with it.
There's actual speculation that the consoles may have put stronger restraints on companies and made validation more difficult. Botched that release was.
Yeah, there's not going to be as many certification like waivers that I think.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about that too. I've reached out to my buddy of mine over at Riot so he can give me an answer, because he would know. So I'm curious about that myself. I'm curious. I would like to know if because I've heard other rumblings of that. I would like to know if Microsoft or Xbox stepped in and said, all right, so here's the deal. We can't have another Cyberpunk, so y'all have to follow these rules now. So
Right.
And here's the thing. I have Cyberpunk.
If that was official, that would change my opinion a lot, because frankly, like, I think that's a lot more believable that it being associated with something to do with Cyberpunk is a lot more believable to me if it's actually the consoles that turned around and said, okay, all other game developers, we can't have debacles like this anymore, so here's the rules. But if the game developers are making it up on their own based on what they observed of Cyberpunk, I feel like that's a little like, I mean, these are all different games with totally different development code and everything. It doesn't make sense that they would impact each other that much. So I don't see that as making sense unless it's the consoles themselves that turned around and set new rules.
Yeah. And in Elite's case, this is already an engine that runs on those consoles. It's not getting upgraded for the new consoles. So this is
the lighting is getting upgraded game wide. So who knows how much that's altering the engine, actually.
True. But that would make me lean more towards it was a console-based decision rather than an FDev-based decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, and if there was some new standards from the consoles, I mean, you bet they're taking it seriously, because Cyberpunk is still not on the PlayStation Store, is it? It's still
it's still down.
And I got a buddy of mine who has it on the PS5. I own it on the PC. It runs great. It's fine. I mean, there were a few not glitches. There are a few graphic glitches with like some things bleeding through walls and stuff, but it wasn't game breaking. It was minor stuff. But from my point of view, I consider Cyberpunk a success. I didn't think it was that great of a game. From the point of
that's
view,
a completely different story.
Right. I feel like they kind of fell short on what I was expecting versus what was delivered. But I no stretch of the means, but I consider it to be like the launch was poor. But I'm also on the PC with a badass system. So,
well, both of my kids have Cyberpunk on a PS4, and it ran kind of sluggish, but it ran fine.
Yeah. And see,
sounds like they got lucky.
I think so, yeah.
Well, you're not the first person to report that to me, and I feel like a lot of people are going by like the initial launch of like basically the DVD version or the Blu-ray version of it, not the actual patched version of it where they fixed it.
Could be.
But I don't know. Anyway, I do need to run, guys, but I appreciate you guys letting me jump in and interrupt.
And, made for an interesting intro to the show.
Yeah. By the way, we had just like read the intro, and I had gotten down to the last name on the list, and then you appeared. It was rather exciting, actually.
Well, timing was impeccable. Yeah.
Well, I need to go do a couple things. If you guys are still recording, I'll hop back in and throw my 2 cents on what y'all are doing then. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, guys. See you. Holler at y'all
later.
All right, later.
Good job.
Okay. Yeah, and that was fun. And we're back. Yeah, and to normally I wouldn't have stuck this at the top of the show, but following on from that, from the discussion last week, and that's what everybody was talking about, of course, last week, and I guess it's continued. We've seen, I personally have seen various things coming in, feedback to the show. And I think for the most part, most people are quite upset, and I think that I think the narrative is agreeing with Chig's basic position that he was saying last week, and with I did see one bit of feedback was sent to me that someone at least appreciated my I guess I don't know what to say, like wanting to mention the developers getting
Compassion.
salt thrown in their face. Yeah, compassion for the developers that aren't making the business choices of the game and are actually just trying to work on it, and suddenly getting a lot of crap from people. But that isn't the whole issue. Like, even if I don't totally like agree about the maliciousness of it, it's still not the whole part of the. It's still not the whole coin. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It continues to be crappy, and everyone continues to be upset.
Yeah, I think I said enough about it over the past 2 episodes. I don't need to keep piling on, I guess.
I mean, I had people reach out to me in private messages and stuff too. So I've definitely talked about this a lot in the last week. And my position has not changed. I actually feel almost stronger about it after talking to multiple people. So
yeah. So is your feeling kind of the same as mine, that I think I'm in a very, very small minority?
It seems
less upset.
Yes, it definitely seems like there's more people who are more upset than less upset, and everybody understands the COVID side of it. We've been dealing with this for almost a year on this planet now, though. So that's where I don't have as much sympathy as I would have when this all first started. But that's me. Call me an asshole. I did have a couple people call me an asshole also. But yeah.
Several people on this podcast.
During the show.
Okay, well, that's the thing. That's the thing we got to do, I guess, is talk about things and then.
Oh wait.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna put it like that.
This time.
I don't think I've ever called you an asshole while being recorded.
While being recorded.
By assholes.
It's all good. It's all right. I mean, it is what it is. It's starting to feel like a dead horse at this time, though. Not that we didn't want Ty's 2 cents because he didn't have a chance to voice it. Now he was able to, but
several of you didn't.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have anything you want to say, who skipped out on us last week, fuckers, you guys can talk now.
Well, I do want to add this because Devoluter brought up last week on the show something about being a Destiny player. And as a fellow Destiny player, I have to add that, one, if you think there's salt in the FDev forums, you really need to check out the Destiny forums. But they have a history of doing bizarre development decisions. And once you get past the salt in the community, you see a lot of the same things. You see people hounding on the developers, and then you see other people coming in behind them and saying, look, this was a poor decision, but the sound guys and the graphic guys are killing it. We don't want to leave them out. In reference to Destiny. And I hope you see the same things with FDev, because while I pretty much agree with Chig that this was a really shitty business decision, there's a lot of things they deserve good credit for. And I don't want that to get lost in the shuffle. Everybody out there in Elite Land who plays this game, to hold them accountable when they screw up, but give them credit when they deserve it too.
Deal.
Yeah, sure seems like everybody did. Everybody has been because actually this is the first really strongly negative stuff that we've seen in quite some time. There was a very salty time, and then there was the period of saltless prosperity, and now we're falling back into the saltiness, right?
Well, that's just because every time they have something to announce, it sets the community into some sort of verbal tailspin, and then they go through these long stretches of, we're working very hard to get these, fleet carriers or fill in the blank, whatever it is. Anytime they announce something, it's either like, hey, look what we're working on. And people go, hooray. Then they go, ah, crap, it's going to take longer than we thought. And everyone goes, boo, you're the shits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it can't, I don't know. Like I said, I've talked about it for a couple of weeks. I just think that it can't be helped. You can voice your opinion, but really it's just an echo chamber, really.
Yeah.
Well,
all I can do is patiently wait 11 months.
Or impatiently wait 11 months.
I'm picturing what Devo would be like impatient.
Like if I'm impatient?
Yeah. I just don't feel that from you.
Picture him more as a mental patient.
I think patience, I mean, the cliche is patience is a virtue.
Are you saying you are very virtuous?
I'm saying I'm partially virtuous.
And impartially impatient.
Killed a man.
I want that on a t-shirt. I'm partially virtuous.
Is that like partly cloudy?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to write that down. Okay, I'm back. So, if any more thoughts on this? Shall we go on with normal business?
Starting to smell like dead horse in here.
Yeah, no, this will be the Chig Chat this week too. We'll get to that, and I'll do the same thing as I did last week. I'm kidding.
Sounding good. All right. Well, in the meantime, we've all, besides Devo Luder, been out exploring, and the expedition continues. Let's do it like this. Would anybody like to call out some very fun stuff they found so far? I'll talk at once.
Didn't you have a big find tonight?
Have any of us found anything fun?
Most I found is
Oh, you're talking about the system I was in right before we started recording.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I did actually came across. I was doing it. My plotter sent me on some neutron jumps, and I found a neutron system with 6 high metal content bodies, and 5 of them were terraformable, and it was undiscovered, and ended up being worth like over 10 million in one system. So that was pretty good. Wasn't particularly pretty. It was sort of a boring system all told, but hey, that's cool. I'm way out past the system with the black hole in it, the waypoint that's at a black hole. No.
And didn't somebody discover a neutron star orbiting a black hole?
Oh, wow.
It wasn't me.
I found one of those last expedition.
I'm sorry, you found what?
That may be what I remember then.
Yeah, that was a year ago.
Okay. Well, anyway. Anyway, we're all having fun. Yeah, I am still way ahead, and then the rest of the expedition is taking their time, which is great to keep everyone who may be in slower ships with us. And some of us are already done. So,
hey, that's me.
Yeah.
Here's my big find. I'm fighting pirates outside of Qama. That should lead you into something else.
Yeah. So next on my list is going to be the squad briefing, and there is something to talk about. So here it comes.
Incoming priority message.
Squadron briefing.
It's nice to actually be able to hear the sound effect.
2 weeks in a row.
That's unprecedented.
I can do it 100% every time. It's just I have to go into Discord settings and throw a switch, which I've now just turned off. So now it'll go back to behaving normal. Anyway, never mind. This is tech talk that I don't need to include in the show, and for some reason said anyway.
Yeah.
So what's up with the home systems there?
So this week in Loose Screws news, the Latvian Apocalypse. At some point this week, people who follow the Yammiks on YouTube will notice that he dropped a new video about how to make tons and tons of credit per hour, sometimes claiming up to 200 million credits per hour doing stacked massacre missions.
I love how they come up with that math, by the way.
Yeah, it's
for all those videos. Make 500 million in 30 minutes.
Fuzzy new math. But the interesting thing about that is he listed Qama as one of the best systems in the universe to do this. Qama, which happens to be one of our systems. So shortly after that video dropped, traffic in Qama went from 40 ships in a 24-hour period to 480 ships in a 24-hour period. The last time I checked, there were 17 fleet carriers sitting in Qama, and our BGS has blown up. As a lot of people who follow Yamix are now running massacre missions out of Qama and hitting the surrounding systems, which is causing Ross and Bomber and V740 Cassiopeia and a bunch of other systems to go skyrocketing towards expansion.
Right.
So it's been a fun week.
He just dropped a giant shit grenade in our lap.
It's the Latvian Apocalypse.
Okay, Latvian Apocalypse. Gotcha.
It's the Latvian Apocalypse.
I believe they invented the shit grenade, so yes.
or as Trax said earlier, smooshed by an angry Latvian.
Smooshed.
Yeah, and like none of this is certainly not intentional, but it is definitely just with an absence of noticing that one of the factions there was a player faction and thinking about what would happen. So that the money-making method just involves running, like you said, these massacre missions in a particular way, in a wing. And so now everybody's going to do this, and we own all the stations in that system, but running the massacre missions means they're picking them up from any of the factions in the system. And so everybody is getting boosted, and that generally means that whoever is in charge is going down.
Right.
So how close are we to this being an actual problem? Because we don't really mind going down a little bit for a little while.
No, right now we're at 49%.
Yeah, and you can tell from looking at the way influence is moving that everybody is having their influence boosted, which, like you said, just means that everybody is moving towards the middle. So we're coming down, everybody else is coming up. And we're, click on it. We're like Devo said, we're at 49 right now, which means we're down 25 points in a week. But
I'm doing my part since everybody is out in the black.
We're still 28 points ahead of our nearest competition. So, unless this gets really out of hand, we're just going to lose ground that we're going to have to make up later. It's not going to be that big a deal. If it pushes us down to the point where we're going back into conflict, then we're going to have a real problem. And so, my message to everybody out there playing Elite, whether you're in the squadron or not, if you're in Qama running massacre missions and making money, have fun. Keep doing it. But, pick up a couple of extra missions for loose screws while you're there so you don't flush us along the way. We would really appreciate it.
Maybe if you could do 2 massacre missions for loose screws for every one you do for another faction, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be great if it works out that way. But, the 4 or 5 guys that stayed behind back in the bubble are literally losing sleep, trying to keep Qama from going crazy. And if you guys are there, continue to make money, but hey, pick up a mission or something for us too, so you kind of maintain the stability of the system. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm currently working on it right now.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Aye, Captain.
You didn't thank him for his service.
And the handful of guys that are back in the bubble working on this. Of course, a lot of the systems surrounding Qama, with all of that traffic going in and out, started seeing trade and people running missions and stuff. So their influence shot up. And at one point, we had 5 systems at 68% or higher, all heading towards uncontrolled expansion. And so we were in that uncomfortable position of having to hammer our own influence to prevent unwanted expansion. And they've done a great job. They've knocked so far 4 of those systems back down into the mid 60s. There's only one problem child left. So they're doing some serious work back there too, the guys left in the bubble. So thank you.
Nice. Okay. Well, So far, not totally an emergency. All right. I feel a little better. I was afraid that you were about to say that. There was like a pause before you said where the next faction below us was, and I was afraid you were going to say they were like 3 points behind or something. So
yeah, talk to me tomorrow.
Okay. So next on my show notes, I have that the Dark Wheel Initiative is moving into the Soul expansion test site on their next move. Who added this to my notes that desperately wants to tell me about it? Huh?
1, 2, 3.
I don't even see that on the notes. Do I not know how to read?
I don't know how to read.
Oh, I'm on the wrong notes.
Well, anyway, this is the next major test from Dark Wheel Initiative. So I believe it's going to kick off sometime very soon, and we watch with curious eyes. Also, Operation Ida Moves Mountains. Who wants to claim that?
I'm blaming NL Hate.
Yeah, that's a hate thing.
Hate must have put this stuff in here, and then he's like, "Oh, by the way, guys, I'm not coming on the show." All right, bro.
Yeah, we see what you did.
Ida. Well, we all know what Operation Ida does. Hey, great job, Operation Ida. You know what? Keep being you. Keep doing
Fixing
your
the
thing.
galaxy one system at a time.
Yeah, sometimes 2 or 3 systems at a time.
True.
Thank you greatly.
Did they do something special this week, or was this part of the Dark Wheel stuff?
Don't they always do something special?
Well, yeah, definitely. I have no fucking idea.
Being this far outside the bubble really does change how I pay attention to in-game news.
Yeah.
And we're about to find that out in a really big way as I continue on to Galnet. It's so some stuff's going on. The hosting of the Galactic Summit community goal has ended, and the Sirius Corporation secured a victory. So the very first Galactic Summit will take place on their turf. Congratulations to everyone who backed that side, and to everyone else. You know, technically you get rewards too, so whatever.
I wonder what
that's what I think about that.
Yeah. I wonder what the feedback has been for this CG, including handing in engineering materials to progress it. I've never seen that before.
And hope to never see it again.
Yeah.
I did. There was lots of talk. Engineering mats are not worth this, generally speaking. On the other hand, they were the easiest to acquire engineering mats, but I don't know.
Level 1 and 2, right?
Yep. From data, so you literally can. There's 100 ways to farm them easily, and you don't have to find specific systems or anything either necessarily. Although they're very fast if you do. Gosh. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Okay, whatever. Leong Rui's company made the. You did it. You did it. You old man.
You did
really
it.
Did it.
You crazy bastard.
you old so and so Lee. Anyway, so then on the Tuesday stream. Excuse me. On the Tuesday stream, it was teased to us that we would be receiving another fun lore puzzle story edition thing. And then they said, watch this space. We'll see what it is. And it was mentioned that it would be difficult because the Adamastar one was not difficult enough, according to us all. So it happened. So on this morning, there was an announcement on Galnet.
That works too.
Oh, God. See, I'm telling you guys, I had the call of that net. Who is this Trax clown? What is he doing here? Pilots Federation alert. An independent vessel has detected a fragment of mysterious message coming from an unexplored region of space. So we get this message. This is an emergency broadcast on all frequencies from Serene Harbor. We are... And then the message cuts out. And the only thing they know is that it had to come from within 80 light years of this particular system, which is, of course, written in the article. Schwaweeds XX-D C1-30. So this happened this morning, and everyone, obviously in the UK, where those time zones, they were not necessarily at work, or at least, closer to not being at work. I always feel like this happens with these things. They kind of come out early-ish in the morning, my time, and then by the time I would get to go in game, it's definitely already been discovered. And likewise, what were there, 4,000 systems? Or am I off by 0?
Oh, right. You're right.
Yeah,
it was just under 5,000, I think, wasn't it?
Just under 5,000 systems were within 80 light years of that source system, and they began scouring them, and eventually someone found it. So I guess this is early enough. This all went down today, so we can do this spoiler-free, right? But somebody found Serene Harbor, and shortly after they found it, another Galnet post was made pointing out the actual location of Serene Harbor. So that can be found in Galnet, and people have been there, and there is a bunch of audio logs. I have heard them. They are definitely worth a listen, and I'm feeling like we don't need to spoil it, right? Because it's the full effect isn't going to come from reading it anyway. So I think people should go out, and if you're not there, like I'm not there, find a video where somebody recaps it. Everybody was streaming today, so there's lots, and the news orgs will have it for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. Yeah, it involves black ops and torture and all kinds of good stuff. So yeah,
another story.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I think I know a lot of people are still looking, but I feel like we're not totally done with it, but nothing else has been found yet. So, at least to my knowledge. More. I think there's got to be more, because if they're saying this was the hard thing, there hasn't been anything to decode yet. It was really just a search for the signal source so far. So I think there has to be more to it. And we wait.
Absolutely. That's right, eh?
That's right, eh? That's cool.
Hoser.
Okay. Any other bits of interestingness that somebody wants to talk about this?
I got
crickets.
Nothing. Yeah.
Crickets.
I mean, if we can't talk about details of it and start speculating, it's kind of a dead duck.
Do you think am I being too precious? Should we do spoilers?
No.
Part of your charm is you're precious, so it's good. We'll move along.
Okay, move along. Maybe there'll be more having been discovered next week, and it'll be much less spoilery. So we can do a deeper thing then.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had thrown a couple of possible discussion topics into the show notes. But since everybody apparently just looked at the show notes either 5 minutes before starting the show or 30 minutes after starting the show,
there's show notes?
Or in Chick's case, he's still a week ago. I'm going to assume that the crew has not clicked this YouTube link that I put in here.
It would be a good bet.
Is that the Astro video?
It's an Astro video. This is fine. So we can kind of quickie. This isn't like a big deal or anything.
Such a professional production we have going on here.
I thought this might be interesting, but at the very least, I will simply share it with the listeners. That Down to Earth Astronomy made a video because the developers of Star Citizen made a dev diary video, and he kind of talks about it a little bit and goes over why he thinks that's the way a dev diary should be and what was good about it. And while he appreciaets seeing the promotional materials that are shared with us from FDev that are called dev diaries, they are long form trailers, essentially, with a little bit of interview content. It was sort of like a visual magazine article about the update, whereas this thing from Star Citizen is very different and actually talks about the development and showing tools and actually sitting down with an actual coder. And so anyway, it's interesting to watch. But it's there's a bit of opinion piece there. Okay, so maybe this is better. So now for something completely different, let's actually talk about this game in sort of a we're actually playing it kind of way instead of just news. So this is something that came up in discussion this week, and I thought it would be good to talk about here because it seemed like a lot of fun, and I wanted to have a discussion with people on voice about it. So the topic is, get your pencils ready. So ship builds are often described as, or at least combat ship builds are often described as PvE or PvP. And so I thought, I guess if I'm remembering correctly, the question was sort of posed to me, like, what is the difference between that? Like, what do I do if I want my build to be a PvP build or a PvE build? And I don't think I had a very good answer. I started thinking, well, geez, I think I make all my builds so that they could possibly work for PvP. Maybe I don't ever do anything like, oh, well, I'm not going to be fighting players in this ship, so I'll change this about it. That never crosses my mind. So maybe it does for other people. So what's the difference between these to you? And what do you think about when you're building ships? And do you change the way you build ships depending on whether you are going to use them to battle players? Or do you specifically not do certain things or do certain things differently when you know you're not going to be battling players? What do you think? Who has thoughts on this matter?
Let Dubs hop in there first.
Dubs, seems like a Dubs topic.
Building expert, yeah. And then I'll bash him to pieces.
I mean, most of my ships are probably built more towards PvP. I know they're not as efficient as a dedicated PvE ship for farming in a Hazres or something like that, but I mean, sometimes you run into players in the CZs. It happens. Hell, my exploration ships have guns. My Diamondback Explorer, I'm in right now, that I'm thousands of light years away from the bubble, scanning planets with. Like, this thing will hold its own in a high CZ. So I mean,
and do well,
yeah. Like it survives. It doesn't just survive, yeah, it does well. And hell, I got a Diamondback Scout that holds its own against much larger ships. I mean, it's just, anytime I build a ship, I never build it for, versus the environment. I build it for combat first and what I want it to do second.
So what would you do if you were going to build a ship? Like if somebody said, I want a PvE build for a Corvette, like what would you do differently from your normal Corvette?
Probably roll with bi-weaves instead of prismatics. That way you can just stay in the zone longer and not worry about that one-on-one encounter with commanders. Because whenever you're building shields, like the shields that you take against a commander have to be able to take more punishment for longer because they're not going to give you that opportunity to get that recharge in. So that's like one example of like, the NPCs versus a PvP encounter. PvP players, they build their ships to counter, what other players may equip, like using the feedback cascade on railguns. Probably not going to catch an NPC doing that on purpose. So, like, shield cell banks are engineered differently for PvE purposes because, the NPCs don't carry around shield cell cancellation technology. It's just not what they do.
Right. Okay, yeah. So that was sort of the one thing that I picked out in my head is like, well, it's the only thing that I would change about my builds, I think, is that if they have cell banks, I would engineer them instead of rapid charge, go with the other one, specialized. And that's, I think, the only thing that I would do differently.
Specialized boss cells for my PvE encounters. Whereas you would want rapid charge for the PvP, because you need a smaller window. in which
Right.
your opponent can cancel you out.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other things. A lot of people.
What about cold?
I don't know. Like the rest of my ships are built pretty much the same. Like I don't change much about the weapon loadouts, minus the rail guns. But then again, I run shield cell cancellation against NPCs too, because you run into a Python in the CZ and he has fucking unlimited shield cell banks somehow. So, but a majority of the ship is generally built the same for me. But then again, I don't try to min-max the PvE side of it. I build it for the occasional PvP encounter, and I say it's gonna do well in PvE.
So maybe that's the detail then, is that when some people are talking about the difference between PvP and PvE, they are thinking of some min-max version of the PvE side, which I guess, would that be like an all lasers builds so you can just stay in the Haz-Res indefinitely?
For pure PvE, I would build for long-term efficiency, yes.
Yeah, versus short bursts. For PvP, you need short bursts. The shields have to be able to hold up through a pretty rough, combat scenario that isn't going to last a long time. You're probably going to go back to the station and repair afterwards, because chances are you're going to take some hull damage while you're at it. Whereas, it's different. It's longevity versus short term, just
right.
bar brawling.
My all frag cannon FDL build is ridiculously fun in a Haz-Res, but it's got a really short shelf life before you have to go back and rearm.
Yeah. Right. Although on the other hand, so I have my current build on my Mamba and my Crate are both strictly PvE, but it's because I'm running cargo and data and scan missions with them, and I've done the loadouts so that when I get interdicted by the anacondas that they send after me, I kill warrant scan them and smoke them real quick.
Yeah.
And that's that ends up being a totally different build, but it is PvE. So as you're mentioning these things, I realized that I guess I did do a specific PvE build, because that's one that I would never. Well, I don't know. Actually, I just did everything that the way Dubs described, except they don't have so much armor because they're made to carry a bunch of cargo and stuff and collectors, which I would never bring to a PvP fight.
If you put anything on there that's not combat oriented, you're falling farther away from PvP. If your internals have anything but hull reinforcements, it's not really a dedicated PvP, now, I guess.
You often see the same kinds of hard points on the meta PvP ships. You see a lot of railguns, you see a lot of plasma accelerators, right?
You see a lot of fixed weapons in general.
Frags,
hit scan weapons, absolute damage from the plasmas.
And that's because PvP is usually so much burst, as Dubs mentioned. They want hit you hard and fast and take out modules and stuff before you have a chance to blink. And I think that's a big part of a big component of this that we haven't talked about. Is it really depends on what level you are in this game. If you're a person who G5 engineers everything you have, you can get away from a lot of PvP encounters if you don't want to mess with them. If you're a newer player though, and you're one of these guys that might have G3 on a thing or two and other things that aren't, my advice is just avoid PvP entirely. Don't even start doing PvP builds at that point, unless you're messing around with squad mates around in an asteroid field or something to test ships. That's something. But if you're out there actually looking for in the world, PvP is usually dickheads. It's not out there. It's not out there to have fun. Occasionally you get that pirate encounter or something, but then it's almost funner to turn that into a role play thing anyway and actually give them cargo.
Unless your pirates get butthurt and call in their entire squadron.
Yes, and then you call in your entire squadron, and it's an arms race. But I mean, PvE is almost always picking the tool for what you're doing. If you're going to farm, a Haz-Res, you just want lasers, and you could sit out there for hours watching Netflix, racking up bounties. If you're doing CZs, you can do multi-cannons and stuff, because usually you'd go reload after each one anyway and everything else. But you kind of it depends on what you're doing. If you're running cargo, it's a different story. But I'm like both of you guys. All my ships, I definitely have engineered to the gills and always have at least one modular reinforcement and everything else, that no matter what I'm doing, if some gank asshole comes to get me, I'm going to make it really freaking hard for him to kill me, or if they can kill me. Otherwise I'll escape if I'm not in a dedicated combat ship.
Yeah, actually, if I'm not mistaken, this Diamondback Explorer I'm in right now does have, yes, it does. It has a size 2 heavy-duty deep-grade hull reinforcement in it. And I have 65 light years worth of jump range, so...
As any of us.
None of my weapons are lightweighted. I have the E-rated shield boosters because they're lightweight, but I didn't engineer them specifically to be lightweight. I just wanted the resistance out of them, but not a lot on this ship has been built for lightweight. Like, my scanners are, the scanners are lightweighted, but they're A-rated. The fucking power plant's armored. Thrusters are jerky.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The life support's lightweighted, obviously. There's no other engineering to put on that. Everything is the maximum size. Everything's A-rated. And it still jumps well.
Well, that's a DBX, man. It's a hero.
It is. It's a beast. It handles mass. It handles mass very well. No, I mean, it'll lose a fight against an FDL, 9 times out of 10, unless the guy doesn't know what he's doing. But it'll hold its own in a lot of situations. But
but don't you also run that thing cold enough to break lock?
Well, that's the DBS. My Scout.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Scout runs cold enough that people can't really target the damn thing.
Hate that shit.
So it can sit in silent forever.
It can not just sit in silent. I can boost in circles in silent running and pop a heat sink every 5 minutes. It's ridiculous.
You think he's run out of heat sinks, and you can get him, but then he just boosts away and sends some more heat sinks, and then comes back.
Exactly.
Your only hope is if you can hit him with an emissive bullet from a multi-cannon for a few seconds.
And that only lasts so long, yeah. So in the ship builds channel in the Loose Screws Discord, these things come up. So this is what's been going on, right? Like, I've been going back and forth with some people. I love to mess around with ship builds, and people post their builds. Hey, what do you think of this? I basically treat it like they're talking directly to me. I don't know if they always are, but I'm always there. Boy, if I see that the ship builds channel has unread messages, I just get so excited. So anyway, that's where this all comes from. But somebody posted one and said, here's this. What's a good PvE build for this ship? And I don't even know if I remember what it was. Maybe it was a Mamba or something. I don't know. But that made me think, like, I'm about to give them, like, well, shoot, here's some builds that I've used. But, like, I don't know if they're PvE or PvP. There definitely could be PvP builds. So am I doing something wrong? Because the thing is, like, every time I build a ship, I'm going to put the reactive armor on it, and I'm going to find somewhere to put a thermal resistant hull reinforcement on it to even that out. And that's the sort of stuff that I wondered, like, is that the dividing line? Is that where I'm saying, okay, I'm planning on going up against players, so I need to, like, I need to do the expensive thing with the armor to make it the best it can be? Is that the sort of stuff you can skip? So maybe I have the wrong idea. Maybe the thing that makes it PvE is, do I have collector limpets on board for after I kill those assassins?
And see, that's why I usually give kind of lazy answers to that. When somebody, I get far more general information, especially if you're PvE. You don't have to be min-max per se. There's things that you can get away with in PvE, and we get a lot of the questions are from pretty new players.
Right.
So, all of a sudden your dubs will drop in just, a full build, all the engineering, everything in it. And I'm like, when I was playing for a couple months, looking at that, it would have been like, okay, I'll go try to build this now, because I wouldn't understand the reasoning behind any of it, or even know what some of the weapons were at that point when I was playing. So I when it comes to PvE, and I'm not taking a shot at anybody, but people come in and say something like, yeah, I want this for PvE. Well, we are so specialized in what we do most of the time that it's like, well, are you talking Hazres, mission running, CZ? What do you mean PvE? It's
about AX.
Yeah, AX. That's technically PvE.
Different. Yeah,
that's a different story. Yeah.
But I mean, then again, to a G5 ship, it doesn't really. So, like, most G5 ships can handle AX just because they're so overpowered.
Yeah.
No, not even scouts. I mean, just if you build a good...
Well, not if you haven't done it before.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Dedicated AX ships are definitely different, and thermals matter more than anything.
Yeah, like Dubs, you can take a ship that wasn't designed for it.
Dubs jumps his SRV into orbit and fights Hydras. So
I'd pay money to see that.
He was trying to convince Roy Cookson to jump from one moon to the other, I think, but Roy was smart enough to calculate how long that would take.
It was a long time.
Yep.
And actually, he calculated that based on whether he could get to some high meters per second speed through space with the SRV, that I don't know how he was planning on achieving a speed that fast. So I think it was going to take a lot longer.
Yeah, we found it was not that easy to accelerate the SRV in space.
Knowing Roy,
for some reason, have a terminal velocity.
Knowing Roy, it involved a lot of calculations and research, because he doesn't just half-ass anything.
No, he does not.
African SRV or European SRV?
I don't know.
Funny guy.
That's from a little movie called Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
It's for you, sir.
Yep. If you don't know that reference, you might have come here from Epic Store. I don't know what to say about that. Actually, there's probably no age group difference between who came from the Epic Store and who did not. I suspect.
I have no idea.
My FSD is malfunctioning, everybody.
No.
This might be it.
Nobody cares.
You'll be all right. It takes a lot. I had mine down into the 20s or some shit like that, and it still wouldn't drop me out of Super Cruise. It just says, try again later on that jump there, buddy.
Yeah, I think I got it powering up now.
I just had a fun little mining thing. I found a Void Opal core, launched my first seismic into one of the fissures, and then saw a tritium subsurface deposit, and started doing that, and forgot I had launched one of the seismics. Then all of a sudden I had like 22 seconds till it was going to blow. I got charges in it and I popped it. Felt good.
Good job.
Crazy.
Good job.
I'm like, why is that one blinking? I'm like, oh shit.
Got to check that contacts panel.
Yes, got to look for the tritium beforehand. Jesus. All right. So that's what I'm doing.
Wow.
I wonder what that PvE Mamba was supposed to be.
Like what it was for?
If it was just for going out into a Hazres, load up on the hull reinforcement and pick whatever the hell you want. It's just a matter of time before you have to leave, really.
If you are PvEing in a Mamba, you have got to be jousting with frag cannons. There's no more fun way to go.
I agree. I have not switched mine back after switching to that, but I did share. I had like a plasma and frag and rails build for the Mamba that was pretty good. I actually did not think it was my best Hazres ship. It was pretty good in conflict zones and for other kinds of things, but just as far as like how many ships I could take out per hour in a Hazres or per reload in a Haz-Res, it was not as high as other kinds of things. So I think they actually ended up settling on something that had some burst lasers and stuff on it. Probably would work better than what
more
I was
efficient.
doing.
But
for me, like once I got into plasma and rails and stuff, I really struggle with the slowness of the damage output on lasers, especially considering how many pips I have to put in weapons just to power them. And I just find that I just can never convince myself to put lasers on ships anymore.
I feel like I've gotten away from that too. Yeah, I haven't been using as many energy weapons because, I like to keep my pips elsewhere.
Yes. And once you've experienced 4 gimbaled, overcharged screening shell frag cannons on a high-speed pass,
God.
it's kind of hard to... I mean, that's just pure joy.
Pure joy.
That's how my Imperial Courier's all fragged out, and that's kind of fun too. High-speed joust, unload, make a circle around.
Do it again.
Yep. That's good FA off flying too.
Yeah, it's another example of a ship that can go both ways for PvE or PvP. The little courier, build it to fight for PvE, and if you get into a PvP encounter, well, they can't catch you. A properly built Imperial courier literally cannot be killed if you do not want to engage. You just can't catch it.
What 900?
I find that there's sorry, go ahead.
But that courier boost to what, 900, 920?
Well, mine didn't go that fast because it's weighed down with shield reinforcements and shit.
Oh, okay.
But I'm wanting to say it boosts into, I'm on Coriolis, and I'm pretty sure I probably have that build saved.
I have something similar to yours. It's like 6. Yeah, I was going to say it's over 600 and it has like 1800 shields considering the resistances on a bi-weave. It's complete madness. You can't hit it, and if you do, it doesn't matter.
And it will be underestimated.
2,000 thermal on a bi-weave shield.
Oh my god!
If you can keep up with that thing, you can't kill it. If you can kill it, you can't keep up with it. That's the beauty of that little ship.
Yeah. You just got to outlast it and outlast its ammo capacity. That's your only hope, and good luck.
Yeah.
Or phasing sequence. Phasing sequence wrecks.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah, that's true.
There's no hole underneath those shields.
It's all made of glass.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. Any other closing thoughts about ship builds?
Ship builds. Everybody needs to go build an AX hauler or an adder.
Yeah, join Adder Squad. We all built adders some time ago, and what's the biggest thing we smoked in it? Did we get a Medusa?
I'm pretty sure we stuck with mostly the Cyclopses. I don't know if we attempted the Medusas just because of how long it would have taken. Because of the higher armor rating, with those small Gauss cannons would have taken forever.
Right, we were carrying, at least mine carries a flak launcher and 2 small Gauss cannons, and it is tough to pierce the armor. Yeah.
It's
but
doable,
it was a challenge that we did beat we did kill interceptors with it.
Yes, the Adder's capable little ship. Sometimes
Adder Squad lives. Terrible.
Shieldless, by the way. If you're going to be a part of the AX Adder Squad, you're not allowed to have shields. Shields are
well, if you have shields, your ship is built wrong and you're going to get destroyed. You think you're doing the right thing, but you're not. Yeah.
And only ship talk I was thinking about, it's not in the builds. This thought popped to me when the whole Lakon thing was going on. It's a whole nother topic, really. But and they were like, oh yeah, they have no plans on removing those ships from the game, blah blah blah. And once again, it made me wish that a player economy would come into being, and they would take ships out of the game occasionally, and then the only way to get them would be to buy them from other players. That was a random thought that came to me the other day. Like, or like you get new cars every year. Ships, obviously, it wouldn't be that way, but a new model of the Mamba comes out, and the old model isn't available for purchases new anymore, and you can only buy it from other players. Once again, it's my player economy wet dream.
And then, but I can see the logical conclusion of this, of course, is that some ships would become vintage if they'd been out of manufacture long enough, or you'd be, oh man, well, I have the Mamba from, 3000,
I have the 3306 Mamba. Yeah.
I have the 3304 Mamba over here. I mean, look at the tail fin on this guy.
I think that would be freaking awesome.
That would be kind of cool.
It would just
we'd all be wearing leather jackets, parking lots,
bell bottoms. I honestly think I'm going way back to the 70s, man.
Don't
I'm
diss the
old.
70s.
You forget this, Jesus.
The Mamba's a little bit muscle car like, isn't it?
It would make the Galaxy seem more alive. This game is so old. I mean, it's 7 years old now. I mean, imagine if there were ships that were only made the first couple of years, and the only way you could buy them is buying somebody's used, Mamba,
even
3302 model.
Yeah.
Isn't there one of the ships that does have lore like that? Like the ship is no longer manufactured. I think it was the Eagle, maybe?
It's the Anaconda.
That they say that, was it the Anaconda?
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't make them anymore. There is a limited supply of them.
In theory.
In lore-wise, but not in actuality.
But even if they didn't change the actual ship, but every 2 or 3 years, kind of like cars, that ship came with a default ship kit that was only available for it. Yeah. So at least they were stylistically different. Yeah. Even that would be cool.
All right.
Just something. It'd be a way to add more ships to the game without adding more ships to the game.
Right. It's still the same base ship. It's
super. It would be super Cobra Mark IV though. Like everybody kind of fighting on the forum about whether they want access to this other year's model, the
only way it works is if there's a player economy, so people can still acquire these things.
Right.
Oh God, it'd be expensive. Be trading fleet carriers for an old ASP, the fucking old ASP Scout because there are no more.
Yes. I mean, works for me. I just want to become a tycoon and buy GameStop shares or something.
Did you want to do a call it their Chiggy chat there?
Sure, it's completely meaningless, and it'll be completely non-game related this week.
Okay, all right. You promised.
I promised.
You promised. All right.
It's Chick Chat. Yeah, that's a fact. It's Chick Chat. Where the cheese at?
Now, what do you think? It would have been fun if like we had another Beetlejuice moment, right, where he came back when I did that.
That would have been awesome, and he just started singing.
He just joined in.
Yeah, just joined in. That would have been good.
Pinged him right before it was time to start Chick Chat.
That would
hey, when you just come sing the song.
All right, so last week I went all saltastic on it, and Chig Chat's supposed to be kind of off topic, just random stuff that we talk about and stuff like that. And last week, all of a sudden it was bringing up Christian Slater movies, which then I'm like, Jesus, that's just crazy. But guess what? I'm gonna name an actor, and I want you to tell me what your favorite movie from this actor is, and I want you to come and tell me, because I was sitting on the couch and. I'm just going to say something right now. It's really fucking hot in this room right now. I wasn't kidding when I said I might die tonight. I'm in my computer room and my computer's running and my 3D printer's running. And holy crap, it must be 90 degrees in here right now. I should probably open a window. But I'm going to push forward. All right.
Don't drop dead on us.
So this is the actor, because I was watching AMC flipping channels and they had True Lies on, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Okay.
And I started being
Tom Arnold.
I'm sticking with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You start thinking about freaking the number of good movies that dude was in back in the day. I mean, obviously, True Lies. I'm like, this has got to be the best Schwarzenegger movie. Then also, I'm like, oh fuck, you got Predator, you got Kindergarten Cop. Oh God, not Jingle All the Way. Total Recall. He's got so many good movies that I just want. I watched True Eyes the other day from beginning to end, and I'm giving that one my vote actually. But tell me another good Schwarzenegger movie I got to go watch to catch up on. Just something I haven't seen in a long time.
To me, the quintessential 80s generic action movie that's great is Commando.
Oh, God.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Is that the first time he says "I'll be back"? He's
got a lot of one-liners. I don't.
Yeah, it's a movie made of one-liners.
Yeah, that's all it is. Oh yeah, I have to go see that. Alyssa Milano's in that. That's his daughter in that one.
Mm-hmm. Hey, they feed wild deer from their hands in the forest.
Real. That's realistic.
That's old school. What about what's your old favorite Schwarzenegger movie, Dubs? Do you even know who that is?
I know. Terminator? Like, I don't watch many movies. So I don't know.
Going with Terminator? All right.
Yeah, I'll go with Terminator. I'll be that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you each name one.
Dubs says Twins.
Hey, Danny DeVito's in that. That's a close second. Yes. Anything with Frank Reynolds. I mean, Danny DeVito.
The same person. Yeah, he is Frank Reynolds.
So, what about you, Nergs?
I don't know that I have a favorite movie, but there's a part in Predator, kind of in the middle, where Schwarzenegger is running through the jungle to get away from the Predator and falls down the side of this muddy hill. That's one of my favorite scenes in any Schwarzenegger movie because the expression on his face when he goes from running to falling makes me honestly believe that the direction was, you're going to run through the woods, and they never told him there was a pit. Because it's total surprise on his face when he falls, and it's just great, and I love it.
I remember that. That's awesome. Good stuff. What about, who has an answer? Diva Looter.
I think there is no more perfect film than Terminator.
The first Terminator or T2?
Of course. What are you talking
the original?
about?
I don't know. Cameron, Terminator 2 is awesome, man.
Terminator 2, in retrospect, to me is silly. Like, we got a metal robot now. Like, ooh.
You're about to get an earful, friendo.
About metal robots?
I don't know. Robots metal?
Sorry, liquid metal robots.
It's
Terminator.
It's a
Terminator 2 was
polyalloy.
It's a biomimetic polyalloy, you dummy.
Yeah, you're talking to an android. Why are you bad mouthing robots to the android?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Terminator 1 is a perfect movie.
Really? You think it's a perfect movie?
Yeah, you can't leave that hanging.
I mean, it's interesting in that it's a complete genre buster because technically it's like a horror movie, but it's also a time travel science fiction flick.
I think in many ways they did invent a genre.
Correct.
Because it became, many aspects of that became very copied afterwards. So it was a little bit of, I don't know if they created a genre, but they, it changed things. It changed a lot of things.
Right. I think the acting on it is fantastic. I think that whoever does the score, all the musical stings whenever he's walking around, like, Jesus Christ, this guy's a goddamn maniac. That's awesome. Even the cheap ass cyborg that's getting crushed at the end, I'm on board.
The animatronic,
the whole
stop motion, yeah.
The whole paradox of coming from the future and impregnating and creating your future son. Yeah, they a lot of crazy shit,
and that is right up my alley anyway. I love that sort of science fiction-y stuff.
Yeah, a lot of times I find time travel in science fiction lazy because it's an easy way to make something mess with people's brains. It's an easy way to make things profound, and it's like that's just confusing people for the sake of confusing because there's no way to actually explain it. You have to kind of either believe that there's fate and it's meant to be that way, or the multiverse side of it and everything else, and then you just have to kind of decide which way they were going with it. But they did a really good job with the Terminator movies, with the whole, the way that they did them.
Well, it's sort of a background thing. It's not even like a major deal. It's really this story about this robot from the future, tracking down this lady for an entire movie. It's really like, so they don't really need to talk about it too much. So there's not a whole lot left to error.
Yeah, but it's just a horror movie. If it was just a robot chasing her without from the future side of it, then it's just literally just a horror movie. With that twist, it makes it a thinking movie. It makes it confusing, and holy crap, he came from the future. And Terminator, yes, perfect movie. Close enough.
Well, I mean, if you got someone else in there,
close enough.
Schwarzenegger.
It's a damn.
I find it hard to believe that robots in the future would have Austrian accents. That's the only thing.
That's what you find hard to believe. Okay, I got you. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, they're coming from the future, and he can go through time because the metal is surrounded by flash.
Yeah.
Is okay. We can overlook that,
but it's the Austrian accent that breaks it. Yeah,
that Austrian accent on like the 7 words he says in the whole movie just ruined it for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. All right, Trax, I think you're the only one who didn't give one.
Okay. And I swear I was going to say this before anyway, but my pick is definitely Terminator 2.
Nice.
And I feel that Terminator 2 is very nearly the perfect example of its genre, and it's never been topped by anything. I think I agree with everything you're saying about Terminator 1. Even the music, except that the music so strongly dates the movie in a way that did not happen to Terminator 2, because it wasn't all like 80s synthy.
Right.
But full agree besides that. And I actually think that there's like a super strong parallel between the Alien movies and the Terminator movies, especially in that early time, where the first one had this like iconic horror-esque, game-changing effect, and was campy and sort of limited in the scope of what they could do with special effects. And then it was followed up by a James Cameron action-packed monster that, in both cases, I feel like they're both like really, really strong examples of these genre-defining things that are like amazing.
Yep, a horror movie, then an action movie, basically.
Right, and then just likewise, after that, I actually think Alien 3 is pretty good, but then it bookends it in this great way, and I think that's really what kind of saved it. And then they kept making more movies, and that's when it all died, right? And I have the same thing going on with Terminator, where I regret watching the next 2 Terminator movies, and I stopped after that because it was this perfect encapsulated moment. And so as long as I ignore everything that they made after that, it's perfect and it's fantastic.
See,
so
I love
that's
Terminator
definitely my
2.
Schwarzenegger movie. Was that?
The big thing about Terminator 2, they took it one step farther, where you still had the time paradox thing going on that you have to wrap your brain around and realize, is it fate or whatnot? But the other big thing in that movie that changed at the end is with the Terminator becoming sentient, and growing a conscience and feelings, and him sacrificing himself. Spoilers if you haven't seen this movie from 1991. but that was a cool thing at the end that they did too, where he,
well,
he cares about people.
Have you seen the director's cut of this movie?
I don't believe I have.
Okay. So there's actually a couple of extra scenes that further enhance exactly what you're talking about. So there's a scene that ends up being cut, where it's at the point where they find a random place to stop and wait, and there's a scene where the Terminator stands watching out the window all night while they sleep.
They're in the gas station, the garage.
In the gas station garage, that's what it was. And he's just standing guard all night. And it's a kind of poignant scene in itself, but there was this extra thing that was supposed to be part of the story, where they start talking to him while he's in the car, and he's discussing how his CPU is a learning computer and I can blah, blah, blah. And John Connor's teaching him swear words and stuff like that. And it's very fun. But what they get out of it that was eventually cut from the movie for time, I guess, is that they can actually make a change. They can flip a switch in his head, and he will gain like further abilities to like think on his feet and alter his programming a little bit to better serve his mission. And this is something that was restricted as he is now, but they have to make this change, and they decide to do it. And after that, he starts imprinting more with John. Then later, I think it enhances it later when he's playing under the car and stuff with John Connor, and she's observing him and sort of like doing monologues about it. It all makes more sense. Plus, you get this, what I think is a fantastic scene where Sarah Connor they take this piece of him out of his head and he's offline. And she has this moment where she wants to smash it. You know, she wants to try to like, I have to destroy this thing that's been trying to kill me for 20 years, you know? And then she, you know, John Connor pulls her back, and they have this like moment, and they do the switch, they reinstall it. And they do this clever special effects thing where, oh my God, I'm forgetting the actor's name.
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton's sister, her twin sister, appears in the movie so that they can do this scene, and she's in the mirror correctly. So they actually have like a false mirror in the shot so that they can get it and make it look correct, because they didn't really have the special effects to do that as well otherwise. Yes. And
they have Dummy Arnold. You see the back of Dummy Arnold's head that's split open, and you see real Arnold.
Right.
Here with the twins.
So he can face act while his head is pulled open.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's great. It's great. It's great. Anyway.
That's just James Cameron is a stud, to tell you the truth. You just go through his list of movies. The Abyss. Have you ever seen the director's? Have you seen the director's cut of that movie?
No, but I would love to.
It's a different movie. It's this whole world crisis thing and everything. It's mind blowing. See that? It's like 4.5 hours long, but so worth to watch if you like if you like the Abyss. You got to see the director's cut. It is so good. But I don't know. He makes good movies. People make fun of, Avatar and the Blue Aliens, but that was a damn good movie too. I walked out.
It was.
I walked out of the theater. I said, "Do you know what that was?" And my wife was like, "What?" I said, "That was Return of the Jedi meets Dances with Wolves." That was my review of that movie. Freaking loved it.
Now, people my age remember that movie as being Fern Gully. Which was a little bit Return of the Jedi meets Dances with Wolves in itself.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, James Cameron can take something like that, which in a sense is just copying some things, but in a way, and just do it kind of properly in this way that's also really good. And I don't know. I don't think it should be shameful.
I loved it. I'm looking forward to that when the next 3 or 4 come out. They're all coming out together.
Right.
Yeah, Cameron
can do anything he wants.
I mean, Christ, he made a movie about that everybody knew the ending of that became the highest grossing film of all time. You know, I mean,
don't even get me started on that.
You make a 3.5 hour movie where everybody knows the ship sinks, and let's just make this the highest
Celine
grossing
Dion
movie
was
ever.
Really hot. She was really on fire that year.
There've been like 7 of those movies made. It's a big ship. It sinks. A lot of people die. It's really sad. Let's get over it and stop making that movie, please.
I like that movie too. But honestly, your Celine Dion comment is another reason why you're precious.
I'm just telling you guys, it was peak Dion. I don't know what else to say about it.
I hope he makes Titanic 2, where they follow Billy Zane for the next 6 months. What's that guy up to?
Oh my God, whatever happened to him? Guys, this turned out to be a wild Chig chat. Didn't it?
It did. No, it was good stuff. Hey, we started talking science fiction and stuff. Good stuff. I'm happy. Yeah. Nice work.
That's pretty great.
Well, only Dub sucks.
Wow. Oh, take it easy. The guy plays too much video games.
I know. He's got to see some movies.
Give him a break. He's really young.
Catching Colonia.
Oh, shit. I'm ready. I have all my ships.
He's just going to go through them at a time.
Well, yeah. That's all that I had for Chick Chat, though.
Nifty. All right. Well, then if there's no other business, I should ask, is there any other business? No? Okay. Then there is nothing left but cheese, as always.
Nothing left but cheese. All right. Tonight's cheese is a goodie. Colby Jack. Shorten it to Kojak. It's Colby cheese mixed with Monterey Jack cheese. They basically make the cheese to where the curds separate, pull the whey off, then you put the curds of the two cheeses together, compress it, and you get this nice marbled tasty cheese that's great on cheeseburgers. I don't know. It's in this area of the world. I mean, Colby was invented in Wisconsin. Colby Jack is a Wisconsin cheese, and that's probably the most popular cheese up in this neck of the woods. So go get yourself some Colby Jack if you can find it, and stay cheesy, everybody.
Wow, guys, he's given us like how to make the cheese. This is highly upgraded Chig that we're getting right now. This is peak Chig.
And I almost didn't make it for the show tonight. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm so glad we waited like 20 minutes because it was like, we're not going to go without Chig. Look what we would have missed.
You're killing me. You're so precious.
Terrible. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me for this rousing discussion. It's been lovely, and I hope we all continue to have fun in space. That's gonna do it for Loose Screws. Fly loose, fly screwy, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.